7 o'clock. First on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next, the approval of minutes.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Bashinsky, seconded by Mr. Burnett to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Mr. Burnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Pothorsky?
Yes.
Mr. Bashinsky?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Albert votes yes. Passes 5-0. Next, the approval of claims. I'll make a motion, we approve the claims.
I'll second.
Motion made by Albert, seconded by Ms. Kelly to approve the claims. Any discussion? Mr. Burnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Pothorsky?
Yes.
Mr. Bashinsky?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, 5-0. Next, we have Mr. John Cannon from the Indiana Attorney General's office. The floor is yours, sir.
How are you all?
Fine, how are you?
Thank you. Can I use that little lectern? Okay.
Sure.
Speak right this way so I don't have any. Us politicians were asses enough, we don't need to have a, so they say. I was elected official myself, so I understand. When I say something like that, refer to me too. So. I am John Cannon. I'm from the Attorney General's office and Todd Rakita. It is good to be with you all tonight and thank your nice clerk treasurer.
Yes.
To quickly put me on the agenda because it was short notice for me, so I had to cancel. And I said, well, Westville's on my list, so I probably had to get there anyway. So I'm here to briefly talk to you about what the Attorney General does for the state of Indiana. Most of you think the AG's office might be representing Indiana in court on behalf of the state government, but there's also other areas that the AG's office does for local governments. For example, our advisory division can issue you all an opinion about new laws or new rules or regulations coming out of Indianapolis. So if you do have any questions, please contact our advisory division, and they can give you advice and write you up a legal advice on anything they implement here in the city. I know your attorney probably knows who to contact there, but if not, I'll leave you my card and get you in contact. Also, our most important and coolest thing is unclaimed property. I was at Valparaiso and spoke last night. They said they found $1,216 for the police department of unclaimed property through our unclaimed property website. So I suggest that the department or the town, the treasurer, check this about once a week because we add 175 items every week. And we return $11 million back to closures of their own money. I was in fault a couple of weeks ago in Greenwood, Indiana, and there was safety deposit boxes in there that the banks have to send to the state. And they let us peek at one of them, and I'd never seen so many diamonds in one spot in my life that someone had a safety deposit box in Muncie, Indiana, and they had to send it to the state because no one claimed it. Now, there's people trying to claim it, of course, and they have to prove and all that, but that's a lot of money. So in 2020 was the historic year for a lot of things, but we returned $57 million to Hoosiers of their own money and their own property. So please check that out for the town's sake and as well as any business or your constituents or yourself. And we add, like I say, new properties every week, about 75 properties every week. So who is sick and tired of robocalls or scam calls or text messages or coming from overseas? Our Attorney General, through our Consumer Protection Division, is working and leading a bipartisan group of Attorney Generals to stop this. They've asked the FCC to not allow overseas companies into our phone system.
Yeah.
And just about 3 weeks ago, we came to an agreement with our Attorney General, along with the other 26, come to an agreement to stop all calls coming in from India, the Philippines, and Singapore. So hopefully they will be lessening
Slowing
as
down.
we go along. Maybe in the last month, you may have noticed they've lessened a little bit. But I'm sure that they're bad actors and they will get around whatever they have to get around to get to us. Please, if it doesn't sound like it's a good call, just hang up and block that number is what our suggestion is from the office at this point. But he is working diligently to stop that. Also, in consumer protection, we put out warnings of product safety and product safety recall once a month on our website, in.gov/Attorney General. And data privacy and cybersecurity is very big to you all to protect your documents. Please check with your insurance company and make sure that you are covered for everything that is out there right now. Just in January alone, it was up 57% in North America, and all over the world was up 128% in tax work. So in some insurance companies that we may have purchased as a municipality or as a town, or a police department or a volunteer fire department, it may not cover some of this. So it's good to go back and look at that. So if something does happen, and please back up every night back up onto something so we don't lose any records or we don't lose payroll or whatever it might be. But that is just an astounding number, 158% increase in just 1 month of January. Numbers are still coming for February and March for us, but that's what the cyber attacks folks tell us. And we do have a division at the Consumer Protection Division to help you all with that. We actually can tie you into a specialist that can walk you through some of that stuff if you need help. Okay? So why are we doing this? Why are we out here talking about the Attorney General's office? You may have never had a visit before. The Attorney General's office needs a reputation kicking the butt, is what the Attorney General says. We had Attorney General in the past that did none of this. They pushed unclaimed property to a point, but really didn't have these divisions working out there for us. And one of the things that Mr. Rakita has done, as you can see already, he's really revamped the Attorney General's office in just 1 year. One of the things that you all are stewards of money, and you have to bite the budget sometimes at home and here with the city. The Medicaid fraud unit is another thing that falls under the Attorney General's office. Just in 2021, the Attorney General's office recouped $8 million in fraud from the Medicaid, through the Medicaid system, as well as through the unemployment division as well. There's a lot of scamming going on there. A lot of folks that didn't deserve it, but it took away, as we always say in our office, it took away from the needy, and the greedy got to fill their pockets. So our Attorney General's going after that. As a whole, all of our divisions across the Attorney General's office recovered more than $210 million in fraud or misuse or waste in just 2021, and that goes back to the state coffers. And that helped allow us to get over the threshold so we can all get an automatic kickback tax cut that automatically goes in when we get our surplus too high in the state of Indiana. Unlike our neighbors to the west and to the north, we have a surplus and we're going to get some money back. About $123, and then later on about another $150. It's something, but I guess it'll fill the gas tank for 1 week, maybe, as that goes along. So the Attorney General wants to thank you all for what you do. It's not easy to be an elected official. It's not easy to put up with phone calls and some of the stuff you have to put up with. So he thanks you for what you do. He has been there himself, as well as I have as a city councilman in Portage and former mayor of Portage. I kind of understand a little bit what you all go through. And so we serve the Attorney General with a servant's heart. We're here to help. And I'll leave you with one of my cards and get some information here to you how to avoid a scam. I'll leave some of that with the clerk treasurer's office, so folks, if they come into the office, they can pick that up, as well as our, this is a major deal. Quick story, if you don't mind me, a couple seconds here to tell a quick story. On the way here, I stopped at the Dollar General store, and I guess it's Valparaiso right there, 6th and Meridian. And there was a lady there had a little child on this hand, and another one being held here in her hands, and she had this big bundle of toilet paper. And she was up at the checkout, and she was trying to find enough money, because the prices obviously had gone up on her right from the last time she bought it, so a lot of people more, so. She was short 96 cents, so I pulled out, I don't normally have cash. That was, cash, but I did have a dollar in my pocket, and I handed it to the lady at the, I said, no, I'll take care of it. Let her go by it. The lady said thank you to me, the lady with the 2 children and a toilet paper bottle. And she got close to the door, she looked back at me, and she said, every time we use this paper, we'll think of you. Well, that's kind of the way life goes. You do a good deed, you still get whatever. But I encourage you to visit our website, IN.org/Attorney General, and we'll be able to help you all, as well as residents and all. But please check this out once a week. It's something how much money is out there for us, and we don't even know it. We're just going to set it. After 25 years and 1 day, the state keeps it. So you got 25 years to claim it before it becomes a part of the state.
So on their website, that's where you get the unclaimed property?
Unclaimed, IndianaUnclaimedProperty.gov. IndianaUnclaimedProperty.gov. And there is a link on our website. It's a big deal to click on. And then you can also, with your phone, if you guys were talking about tech earlier, if you're a tech-savvy person, you can actually scan our code here. It takes you right to the website. You punch in your name and your address, and it'll pull up all the people in your area that has your name, and then you'll have to decipher which one you are by name and different things that lists there. It's a cool deal. So I also want to leave you something that's just starting to happen again. I got information on the way over here. Luckily, I had some of this in the car. IRS imposters are calling again, and the IRS will not call you ever. They'll send you a letter, and you call them, and you have to use a code now to get in, verifying that you got the letter, it's you. But I'm going to leave this with you as well, some of these with you. Please do not take those calls. Nobody from the IRS will ever call you. That's a fact. And the Attorney General is trying to stop that as well, but it's back. So I just got a text on the way over here, and after I got told about the toilet paper, I got a text. So anyway, I'll leave this with you. So I appreciate your time. You guys' time, I don't want to hold you up, but thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for
coming
coming.
up.
Thank you very much.
Very
Good
well.
information.
I knew a school teacher who years ago would go on the website, and then he'd see your name, and then he'd call you up and say, hey, I noticed this, and then he didn't, he hoped they'd say, okay, here's $50 or whatever.
You get much out of that?
I don't know.
Well, usually what I was doing prior to coming to a town or a municipality, I would go through everybody that was on the council. I would take a screenshot for them, and print it out and say, hey, I don't know if this is you or not, but your name's on here. And it got a little cumbersome, and some people were a little, that was getting into their business, so they decided to stop that.
They still went after the money, though, I'm sure.
Oh, well, yeah, they did. Yeah, I'm sure they did. We were trying to help, and they, well, you're in our private business, and, I understand that. And we come in here and talk about data security, and we're out there printing stuff,
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense, I guess. So thank you all very much.
Thanks for coming up.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Mr. Howell.
Go through the bullet points. We did have a water leak on Valparaiso Street. It was kind of an interesting leak. They had 4 3/4 inch services feeding a 2-inch service to go to Beaumar. Basically, it's all going to have to be redone. It's going to be fairly expensive, but we will probably push that off later on in the year to do that. It's going to require a whole new service installed, capping the main. Another item with the water system in the old part of town, we found 2 lead gooseneck fittings. That's kind of a really bad thing because with the new copper rule, those are items that really need to be taken out of service. I had seen no indication that there were any of those. In the past, there was no documentation of that, but we found two in a week. One was actually on the Bowmar tap. It's not in use. They discontinued using it.
What a design that was on there. It looked like a bunch of spaghetti.
They actually call those a bird foot. I believe they did it because it was cheap
Yeah.
to do, and that was, and they didn't have to bring somebody in to do a 2-inch tap.
Yeah.
So you could do 4 3/4 taps, even though 4 3/4 doesn't equal a 2, so it just doesn't, it doesn't really make sense. So, what we're gonna probably do this summer is probably have AccuDig out. We're gonna probably just, look and see how, we'll probably just randomly choose maybe 8 or 10 laterals and just see if there's some more wet goosenecks on that. If there are, we're probably gonna, we're gonna have to look and have a plan of action for that.
You had one at Bomar. Where's the other one at?
The other one was down, when we tied into, McMahon's, put that tab in for that one too. And that was there.
I was gonna say, the one going back into Bomar was probably put in late 40s maybe when they put that in. So I was trying to get it like a time frame.
They quit using them. I could even see they probably even used some of those back in even the 20s probably, when the system was put in. I mean, what they did is they used the gooseneck because it was a flexible fitting, and then they could tie into steel pipe, and that's basically what they did. You got into the 30s and more copper was being used. You get into the 40s during the war era, then whatever they could use, they put in, and not many water services were installed back then, during World War II. They just did a lot of it. Some of them where they used what they call the war pipe, which is really a cheap grade of steel. I've seen that. Haven't seen it here. I've seen it in other communities. We did have a meeting with NDOT regarding roundabout project. Corey was there. It was more of an informational meeting, but they're starting to stake it. They cut some trees. I see them really start construction here within a month. One of the issues we had is they're going to reroute some of the water main, and they cannot find ductile iron pipe, so they're going to use HDPE pipe instead. They're going to have a hard time finding that. One of the other things we're going to do is hopefully at this project, and talking to McMahon about it, they're going to just come across and stop and tie into the water main. We're going to look and see if they can extend it down past the entrance of the wastewater plant, so we can have the water main on that side on the south side of the road the entire way, instead of crossing and underneath the or right next to the storm sewer. So that protects both the streets too. So we really don't like seeing a lot of water main underneath that stuff, because it would be really expensive repair if we have to do it. So we're looking at that. We did meet out at the water plant with Bolin and McMahon to look at what the project could entail if it happens. Finally, the wastewater treatment plant improvements, things are really starting to pick up. There's a lot of work going on. Out at the correctional center, the lift station, I would say, is probably close to 50% complete. The holes mostly filled in. They've got some concrete in at the floor, but then they'll get it filled in. They'll start building the building. The equipment hasn't gotten there yet. The pumps have. The pump station itself, the piping's probably 80% done. There's some big pumps going in there, so it's going to be a good quality pump station. The wastewater treatment plant, they've started the solids handling building, and that's the most critical in my opinion right now, because I really don't want to have to pay to have more sludge haul if we don't have to. We may have to, or we're really trying not to, so I'm pushing Bowen pretty hard on getting that done so we can get the sludge press operational. But they're starting to put sheeting down. There's going to be a lot of digging going on here. It's going to be a war zone there for the next probably 18 months. So, other than that, that's pretty much all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or anything?
Actually, I have a question. So for the two lead gooseneck fittings, you said you really don't know how many there are?
No, I have no idea.
Okay. And then you also mentioned that they could cause an elevated lead levels?
In services, yes.
Okay. Is that like being monitored, or are we like watching that or something?
We do monitor, it's a routine thing. If we see there's a lot of them, we'll probably have to readjust where we monitor.
Okay. But it didn't, we are
The
watching.
two that we found were not being used.
Okay.
So the one was abandoned, and the other one, the service had been replaced, and it wasn't being used at the time either. So I would not, I wouldn't get too worried about it, but it's something that we really need to
Cautious though, right?
do our due diligence and make sure we don't have a problem.
Yeah, because it's not really affecting our main as much as it is the
No,
Sylvester house.
and we do random lead and copper testing, IDEM and through EPA, we're required to do that. The other thing is that we've done testing, 2 years ago, to see if the water's corrosive. And that's the big problem. If your water's corrosive, it breaks down the pipe. If it's not corrosive, and it's what they call scale forming, it's not as big of a problem because you're not allowing any of the materials to leach into the water. We did do the testing, and it's not a corrosive water. So that's another positive thing. But it's one of those things that we're going to have to
Just keep on top of.
address.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else on utilities? Okay, we have the, last meeting, we talked about selling the 2009 box van. We got a estimate on the value of it. It will have to be published. And it'll be published in the Laporte paper on April 13th, 14th, and 15th. And there will be sealed bids, and then we will open them up on Tuesday, May 10th, which is our next regular meeting. So that will be out.
What's the dates?
13th, 14th, and 15th of April. Streets,
Out in the report.
okay. We have the sale that's, Bubba talked about selling the 78 Ford dump truck. The appraisal was under the amount required. It can be just sold outright. We did get an offer on it for the 78 Ford. That's the red one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Red. 44 years old. Almost as old as I am. I'll make a motion. We have an offer to the town council. I would like to offer $750 for the 1978 Ford dump truck. That's from Mark Wesher. Would anybody have an objection if we go ahead and sell that truck?
No.
Do we have to? Okay, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and sell the 78 Ford dump truck to Mark Wesher.
Second.
Motion made by Albert, seconded by Mr. Pachinski. Is there any discussion? Mr. Burnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Pecorski?
Yes.
Mr. Pachinski?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 5-0. Anything else on street parks?
Just, I don't know if you got the information from Scott that they're doing a groundbreaking at 11 at the park this Friday for the broadband. That's it.
I know they've already are running it
Yeah.
On the highway. That was an industrial one or a commercial one they were running for a project, Where's that going out here to?
Smith.
Oh, Smith Ready Mix? Okay. I was thinking it might have been the warehouse out there.
They fix after this mess.
Okay. Police?
Yeah, last month, 481 calls for service. Last night, the county council had the first vote for the lit tax, and it passed on the first reading. They'll be doing their second reading on April 25th. So I'm going to keep an eye on that to see how they vote. But it passed 6-1 last night. So for the safety board, we need the council to pick, and Mr. Mercer has resigned. He's informed the staff that he's resigning from his post. So I've asked the guys to get together, and they have proposed Suzette Eden, who's on Valparaiso Street, to be their pick for the safety board.
EDON.
I believe it's EDEN. It's Sue from Casey. I didn't know her real name was Suzette, to be honest with you. It's always just been Sue.
Okay, so that appointment is made by,
The team.
by your people.
Yep.
Ours is vacated, was opened up or vacated when Regina
Yep.
resigned. Would you want to, it makes sense, being the liaison, does anybody have an objection if?
No.
I'll make a motion that we have Nate Burnett fill our appointment. Second. Motion made by Albert, second by Ms. Burnett, that's fine. Mr. Burnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Pethorsky?
Yes.
Mr. Waschinsky?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Albert votes yes. Incidentally, we haven't had the storm siren that was on the former police building. It's been a nightmare dealing with the county. They wanted to move it down by the warehouse and all sorts of stuff. We paid for half of that siren years ago, but long story short, I contacted our REMC. They've donated a pole for us. It's sitting out there at the park now. Marquis Electric is the county's contractor to put it in, and they, depending what the weather is, they hope to be out there end of this week, Thursday or Friday, if not early next, to drill the hole and set the pole. I think they're gonna put the siren on it first and then set it, but that's the timeframes for that. So we'll have a siren back in town.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
we had a hard hit on the county
Thank all the people
council.
involved.
That's all I got.
Went up and met him in person, and it worked out well. Nothing else on police?
No, sir.
Finance, we got ordinance 2022-1 of the additional appropriation. We had a hearing at 6:30, public hearing in regard to the additional appropriation. This is the remaining amount on the draw we have had for the ARP money, and it's putting it all into the general fund as required by law. So we have ordinance 2022-1, it's additional appropriation ordinance. It has been determined that it is not necessary to appropriate more money than was originally appropriated in the 2021 annual budget. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the town council, town of Westville, LaPorte County, Indiana, for the expenses of the taxing unit for the following additional sums of money are hereby appropriated out of the funds named and for the purposes specified, subject to laws governing the same. And it's the ARP fund, and the total outlay into the general fund is the balance of $406,000. If this money isn't spent, it reverts back, and then we would reappropriate it next year. So we did use some of it in 2021. So I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2022-1 on the first reading.
Second.
Motion made by Albert, seconded by Mr. Waschinsky to approve ordinance 2022-1 on the first reading. Is there any discussion? Mr. Burnett?
Yes.
Ms. Pethorsky?
Yes.
Mr. Waschinsky?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 5-0. Now I'll make a motion that we suspend the rules and adopt ordinance 2022-1.
Second that.
Motion made by Albert, seconded by Mr. Waschinsky to suspend the rule, or to adopt ordinance 2022-1. Any discussion? Mr. Burnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Pethorsky? Mr. Waschinsky?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly? Albert votes yes, passes 5-0. We had published to sell the former town hall. It's published, there were no takers. What's our next step?
I have to look.
Okay.
I think we could do an auction next.
Okay. We get like the guys on Storage Wars.
Storage Wars.
It's like the same thing.
Dave and, I can't think of all their names on there. Okay. Fire Department activity report.
Okay, for the month of March, Westville had 25 calls, New Durham Township 13, Jackson Township 13, Mutual Aid to 3, total of 54 calls. All of the town calls, there was 23 EMS calls for assistance, 1 utility pole on fire, and 1 CM detector going off. Update on our new truck, axles are on back order. So we're kind of waiting.
Well,
They still feel they can meet our delivery date of June or 1st of July.
did they say what year, or I know things are, you gotta be pulling your hair out with.
Things are getting ugly out there. Their quote right now, they quoted us 230 days for a new truck. Right now, they're quoting 450 days. And the same truck that we bought, we signed the papers July 2nd for $716,000. That same truck right now today is up to $850,000. Things are just going nuts.
What's the big delay? Is it pumps on it, or what particular hardware? Or?
Everything.
Oh, nothing in specific.
All of our stuff is there other than the axles. The axles on chassis that's being built up in Charlotte, Michigan.
Really?
By Spartan. And then after they get that, that's the only thing they're waiting on, and after they get that, then the truck is transported to Alexis, Illinois, and that's all custom stuff. They make the box, you know, and everything, they paint it, stuff like that. Our pump is sitting there, you know, they're ready to go, the lights are there.
Somewhere there's just buildings full of this stuff that nobody knows where it is, I think. It's sitting out in the harbor.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions or comments or anything? Okay, thanks for coming, gentlemen.
I do have one request, Mike.
Sure.
We talked previously about giving some of the ARP or COVID money or whatever. Can you give us any clue or direction on where that's at?
What we're looking at is, of this 406,000, we've got cars we're buying, and you will get some, what amount off the top of my head, I can't tell you, because we gotta pay for this other stuff, but you guys will have something.
He can just get one. They don't give us, you know, the other sheriff, the other one.
We can pull the old one around with the new one. Like the Flintstones.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Citizens' comments? Well, I will make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Albert, seconded by Ms. Kelly to adjourn. Any discussion?
7:33.
Wow.
I knew our clock was.
Well, good, then you can fix that one then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourns at 7:33.